Okay, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us. My name is Emmanuel Mabe, also known as Kiki sometimes, and my co-host is Innocent Oketa.
So today we're kind of trying to dig into the experience. Every immigrant that comes to the Western world has all kinds of experiences and has all kinds of approach to life and to how. I mean, all of us do have many different views and perspectives, and we're here today to clarify those views and tell you precisely how what our experiences are. We hope you learn from it. So,
yeah, learn from us. If anything, you should learn from us at least.
Yeah, Emmanuel, you can start and maybe tell us how you got to find yourself in Canada and what led to that.
Yeah, well, education. I think I was in search of education, and I got the opportunity in Kenya to come to Canada for my studies. I had been studying in Kenya for not more than a semester, actually, at the university. Then I ran out of funds, so no more funds. Found myself at the refugee camp in Kenya, where I was, looking for a scholarship or any other opportunity for that matter. And my intention was that I would perhaps get a scholarship to study there in Kenya. But then the opportunity came for me to come to Canada. And it was a program called the World University Service Canada, WUSC, which sponsors, gives scholarships to refugee students. And that's how I got myself here beginning in 2004. So I've been here almost 20 years now. What about you, Innocent? I think we
Yes,
share the same story.
that's correct. Yeah,
the same program, right?
we do share the same story and similar struggles. All of us. I don't think I had the funds for university, even though I was actually admitted into one and to study engineering, but no money to pay for that, and ended up in the same route as you, applying for a scholarship through WUSC, and eventually, I actually did consider the U.S. as well. I did consider the U.S. and I had applied for a couple of universities in the U.S. And yeah, and then ended up with WUSC. I think we had a long journey through that. It was never straightforward. At one point, I was giving up. I think same as you, almost about to give up. And one time I hear you give me a call and said, "Hey, I think our names are up there. I think we're ready." And I said, "Wow, that was quite exciting." And
it was, yeah.
Yeah, it was surreal almost, because in my mind, and maybe in yours too, I was thinking, Canada is this place. Canada is this place with dreams. There's a place where you go to fulfill your dreams. And what better way to do that through the education? And that's how we found ourselves pursuing and chasing after that dream.
Yeah, coming abroad was a dream in itself, huh?
That's correct. Yeah, coming from the environment we were both in, Emmanuel and I are both South Sudanese, and as you know, South Sudan has been in war for about 21 years, since the 80s, right? And so many refugees as a result of that. The two of us were actually refugees in Kenya, so we lived through that. There's a whole story to talk about our experiences back in Kenya as well. So, but we mostly grew, I would say, I grew up in Kenya, same as you, right? We all grew up in Kenya, and then ended up here in Canada. And yeah, we're here to talk about that kind of experience, where that led us, and what our opinions are about it.
So in my view, the first days were really exciting when I arrived here, especially in Toronto. Toronto is a very exciting place. When I first arrived, it was very exciting. You know, I keep saying when I got into my dormitory, just the environment itself feels, it felt so good, you know, like, you know, even this, I can still, you know, the smell was just, even the smell of it, I can still feel it. Like, you know, I guess it was coffee, students on coffee, and all that kind of
Yeah.
thing. And yeah, and they're having your own room as a dormitory and your own telephone. At that time, there were no cell phones. It was just a phone, corded phone, but it was exciting that you had your phone, your own phone, and your phone number. People could call you and leave a message. I always found that to be very, it was so cool that someone could, you know, call me and leave me a message on my own phone.
Yeah. Yes,
And
I actually.
I always looked forward to coming in and seeing the light beeping, seeing the red light beeping, and then coming to check on my phone messages.
Yes, and I think we both have a similar kind of experience, because you know we never had we had cell phones back in Kenya, but there were the flip phones, but that was even prestigious to have cell phones. I never had one, you know.
Yeah.
My parents did have it, you know. My close relatives, some of them had that, but
Mm-hmm.
you know, coming to Canada and actually experiencing that for the first time was great. I remember casually the drive, because we had to drive from Pearson Airport to London,
Yeah.
and that long drive, I was like, why is it so flat? That entire area was just so flat, and we're
It was
driving.
flat, no mountains.
And the highway, and we had to go to the highway, the 401, and before we hit the 401 and in Toronto, there was this, I could see all this roads, this incredibly complicated roads, and I was like just amazed by the entire thing, you know. And as we're driving through, we stop at McDonald's, and you know, the people uh, that we're driving with, we went into McDonald's, you know, because people were hungry. And then they got and
Yeah.
bought food, and I was like, damn, well, this thing tastes so good. It was like a burger. I'd never been to McDonald's before, and this was my first. I don't think at that time even Kenya had any McDonald's. They never had McDonald's. And
I don't think so.
yeah, and that was fall actually of 2004. And I
Yeah,
remember.
it was the fall. Yeah, when we arrived. Yeah.
Yes, I remember arriving in my dorm room, and just as you, I had my telephone over there, a bed, and it was really nice to hear calls coming through. You know, some of those calls from Africa, and friends we left behind. So yes,
Yeah, it was. We had to make the phone calls using those calling cards,
yeah,
little
yeah,
calling
yeah.
card.
The five
You
dollar
go buy
card.
them from the convenience store.
Yes, $5 or $10 cards or $30 cards. We would get those, and I remember my first time walking into the cafeteria was, I was like, I walked in, and there was you know, food which you had to choose, and in my mind I'm thinking, well, I'm just gonna go get something with rice and make some meat and some veggies. And I walked in, I'm looking, there's no rice. there's there's other stuff there.
Yeah.
And it's like, what's going on? There was pasta and lasagna. There was lasagna. There was
Yeah.
some of the cold meat there. Like somebody told me, oh, why don't you try this? And it turned out it was salami or whatever. Yeah, they gave me salami.
Yeah.
And then I went to the table and tasted it. I was like, what is this? They said it's meat. I was like, why is it cold? So cold.
Yeah.
Oh, I
Yeah.
hated it. I didn't like
Just
it.
just don't like cold food doesn't work with us. Cold food.
No, no, it's not an African thing
We used to hot food.
yes, not an African thing to be eating cold food.
Yeah.
And I found that was over here, it was a type of a quick meal. You get that, put it in a sandwich, put some cheese on top, boom,
Hmm.
you're good to go. But
Yeah.
that didn't.
Just
I one point I would buy the ham. I would get the
mhm.
ham from the cafeteria, from in the dorm. I'll get the ham and I'll take it and warm it.
Yeah.
uh,
Yeah. You wanna
uh,
warm it? Yeah.
yeah, before I would eat it. So,
Hmm.
oh, that was yeah. The food wasn't really my kind of food. Most of the times, I think the entire menu was not really something I looked forward to, except on some days they would have some of the African type food, rice with beans and stuff like that. Then I would indulge in those and I would eat those. Yeah. But I'm guessing some people who never lived in the dorm room, like we lived in the dorm room. Some of the students
Hmm.
maybe came and lived in an apartment or housing complex, probably bought their own food and cooked. In
Hmm.
my dorm, they did not allow cooking. I did get into one dorm room in my second year that allowed was considered an adult dorm. And they had a kitchen and you could cook. And yeah, I found that one a bit better and more suitable to my needs. Yeah.
It shocked me the first time that it snowed, or the first time that cold weather. I called the first time there was a cold snap. That really hit me. Someone told me that I looked scared or something like that because my face was all. Uh, I felt my face was frozen, when I was outside during that cold snap, and it was even before it started to snow. It started to snow afterwards. Then I was excited to see the snow, obviously, very excited, but the cold was unbearable at first. It took me a while to get adjusted. My jacket that I came with from Kenya wasn't enough. I had to get another one, I think, or I had to get into the idea of layering up, wearing a lot of layers inside, which of course I still have to do now.
Yeah, and for some people that are wondering, the type of jackets, I got the same type of jacket from Kenya, and that's not enough. And the thing is, the difference between the type of jackets you get there and the ones here is that
Mm-hmm.
the ones here are actually laminated with heat. They have a certain material that actually gives you heat and warmth, and they're heavy.
Mm-hmm.
Those jackets here are heavy. They're heavy duty. So,
Yeah,
and that's also not enough by itself. You have to layer up. You have to put
yeah,
all kinds of. It's really cold, and I think in your Toronto, just like London, the temperatures get really low, below. We're talking uh, below 10 degrees, below 20, minus 10, minus 20. Uh, at one point in London, it was minus 40 degrees Celsius. So if you're thinking that it's not as cold, think again. I remember one time I was having a phone conversation with a friend back home, and they said Yeah, so is it cold like in the fridge? And I said, my man, it's worse 10 times.
Yeah.
I
Feels that.
remember going to class the first time. It was I think it was -20, and with windshield worse than that, and I'm walking uphill because in my campus is you have to go uphill to go to the classes, and I was
Mm.
walking, and this gust of wind hit me on my face, and I felt this pain coming through my nostrils and going in to my lungs, and I felt that sharp pain. I couldn't make it halfway through the hill. I came back. I missed
Hmm.
class that day. I missed
Yeah.
class that
Yeah.
day. I could not go. I couldn't do it. I could not
That
breathe.
happened to me.
It happened to you too?
The call snap. I didn't miss the class, but just between classes.
Yeah, yeah. I missed that one. And then later on, I said, I can't miss anymore. I had to keep going. Oh my goodness. It was worst, worse than I could ever expect. But you're right about the snow, because the snow is really pretty when it's falling down. It looks gorgeous, looks really nice,
Hmm.
and it feels good to the hand as well. That
Hmm.
was I could not I could not take my eyes off the window when the snow was falling. Very nice. And I'll tell you this, I actually, on my first winter, I actually decided to go skiing with my WUSC group.
Nice.
So
Nice. You
imagine
tried
this
it out.
African guy, it's his first time. He's just fresh off the boat, as you could say. And people are going. Some of the WUSC guys were going to the Blue Mountain in Collingwood. They
I
have
heard about it. I've never been there, but I heard about it.
they have a ski resort there. Big. It's a really nice place. And here I am saying, yeah, why not? Let's go. So I go in there and get my ski boots on, and then they take you through that car that takes you up there. And then
Hmm.
I realized I didn't know how to ski. And the lady, one of the WUSC friends of ours, they said, "Oh, it's really simple. Here's how you do it. Just put the ski like this and put your legs like this and go." I said, "Okay, great." And they took me up there, and I'm up the mountain, and now I put my skis like this, and my legs, and I started sliding and going. I'm going so fast. I'm really scared. Up middle of the hill, I realized I actually didn't know how to brake. I didn't know how to
Yeah.
stop.
Yeah. That. I was going to ask you that.
That
Yes.
person taught me how to go down, but they didn't teach me how to stop. So I was just going and going, and they were like, "Hey, you said stop, do this," and I just slid all the way and fell close to a pond. There's a frozen
Mm-hmm.
lake of some kind there,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm right down, and thank goodness I didn't break anything. No legs broken or anything. I got up, and then Sarah, who was WUSC committee member, said, "Oh, I should have told you how to stop. Here's how you do it."
Mm.
Yeah,
So you landed in London.
yeah,
You went to London, Ontario. Just to be
yeah,
sure to our listeners, we have London, Ontario,
Yeah, so yeah, that's true. For the listeners, we were talking about I came to London, Ontario in Canada, and
Yes.
Emmanuel, you came to Toronto. Uh,
Yeah. And
yeah.
you've always stayed in London.
Yeah, for the most part, yes, but there was a time I actually lived in Toronto for about a year and a half,
Okay.
yes, year and a half.
Okay. Okay.
Um, and worked there a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, didn't quite like it too much. I mean, it was
Hmm.
okay. A
Hmm.
really expensive city, but really exciting.
Yeah.
Very, very exciting.
Exciting.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's
Were you there for school or for school?
no, 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 for a job. So
For a job.
yes, I was there for a short job. Uh,
Hmm.
Contract finished, and then
Hmm.
after there was a referendum, the South Sudanese referendum that was being
Yeah.
conducted in Toronto. I was
Yes.
amongst the people there that got hired to help
Hmm.
with the process. Yes.
Okay.
When
Yeah,
I,
I thought I saw you there. Yeah.
yeah, I was. So I
Yeah.
was one of those people, and I worked with others. And then
Hmm.
after that was done, I was like, hey, I'm beginning to like Toronto, you know?
Yeah.
And I said, well,
Hmm.
why don't I try, let me see how the city is. Because at that point, I was just a single guy moving around, and I didn't
Hmm.
have, I was, I did not, I wasn't tied to London. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I decided to live in Toronto and stayed there for about a year and a half, and then left for South Sudan. So,
Hmm.
but that was in 2010 or something like that. Yeah. So,
Right.
yeah.
Before coming back to Canada, to
Yeah,
London.
to South Sudan, you mean?
You went to South Sudan before coming back to London.
Yeah, before coming back to London. That's correct. That's way after school. It's like it's like after writing my exams, last exams, I was like, I said to myself, I don't feel this country anymore at this time, and I need that
Hmm.
African ticket.
Is it better that we'd stayed behind, or is it better for us that we're here now? What do you think?
Well, I would say that there are pros and cons of coming to Canada. There are pros and cons, just like in every country. There are pros and
Yeah.
cons, and all of that. The pros and cons all depends on you, the person, because it's different for different people. It's different. For instance, of course, there's also, culture shock for a lot of people that come here. As you've heard, um, between Emmanuel and we were, I was shocked with how cold the winter is. So if you're coming to Canada, you're coming to Ontario, or even going to the West, just consider that it's going to be really cold for you. Very, very cold. We're talking minus 10, minus 10 to minus 40 sometimes. So um, that's one part of it. That's a con. I would consider that a con. And it's not just cold for a short period of time, but it's cold for a long time. So you're talking about from uh, December, December, uh, January, February, March, maybe up to even April. So it could include November too. Like, so we could be talking about 6 months of cold, extreme cold. And then there's the summer. The summer months are only like maybe June, July, and August. Those are pretty much you only have 3 months of the sun. Well, the fall is sun also in the fall. But again, if you're living in some cities like London, Toronto, and stuff, you might even get snow in September, yeah, or October. You might get snow. So there's very limited sun. That's another con, you know. There's a very limited sun. Another con is also the culture. There are many different cultural differences. You know, some of it can work in your favor and others not. For example, I'll tell you a funny one. I'll tell you what happened one time. I'm in the dorm room, and I was just fresh off the boat, as you can say, and I'm in the cafeteria, not the dorm room. Sorry, the dorm's cafeteria. We had a cafeteria in every dorm, and this was after Thanksgiving. You know, everybody had gone to Thanksgiving. You know, international students don't go to Thanksgiving like me. I was left behind. And then this lady I'd known came back from Thanksgiving. And I thought that, you know, she looked good. And I gave her a compliment, you know. So, oh, wow, you look fat. Because in Africa, right? You know, when somebody,
it's a compliment.
yes, when somebody has gained some of that nice plump weight, you say they look fat. You tell them they look fat, right?
Yeah.
Yes, and that's what I did, and I said that, and then with a smile on my face, I said, "Hey, yeah, you look fat." Oh my God! She flipped out. She's like, "Oh my God, Innocent! I can't believe you just said that." Oh my
Yeah.
God. I said, "Oh, I am so sorry. I actually didn't mean that. I meant you look fat." Oh my God.
Oh.
I made it worse. So she stormed out and left and went into her dorm room and closed the door. And I was like, Jesus, what do I do? And I
Yeah.
kept apologizing for saying that. But at the same time, I was really confused. It's like,
Yeah. Now what?
why? Why did she just? I thought that I was just being nice, and I thought that I was actually a pretty nice compliment for a lady like her. I don't understand. And then, you know, that was that was one big culture shock. I had to learn.
Shock. Yeah. Yeah. You can.
Why? Because you know, people here are sensitive to certain. There are certain words that you're not supposed to be throwing out there just carelessly like that. You're supposed to consider other people's feelings around certain things. You know, Canadian culture is very reserved in that manner. And so I had to learn the hard way. And I had to learn that, you know, you're not going to be calling somebody. It was not a language you're supposed to use. You can say somebody looks good, you know, but in Africa, that's not the case. You know, you say somebody looks fat, nobody cares. Nobody gives a damn. Say, oh yeah,
Yeah.
oh, they think you're healthy in
I think
Africa.
you're healthy. They
Did
think
you
it's,
go through that too? Or?
yes, I did. Thank God it was somebody from an African background and they were able to understand.
Well, mine was a white lady. You know,
Yeah, that one would have been trouble for me.
yes, and I thought maybe she would have gone even to report me to whatever to the
Yeah,
resident manager and said, well, this guy just
yeah,
called me fat.
just insulted.
After I really apologized to her later on a lot, and then she did forgive me, but
Yeah,
yes.
Yeah,
So
yeah. So those are the kind of things that you would call culture shock, right?
that's correct. That's what I would call, culture shock. If you're, you have to be a bit conservative with your language.
Mhm.
If you're
Yeah,
in the Western world, language, you have to be careful how you say certain things and what you say. It depends, especially in Canada, of course, there are certain groups that are also protected groups, right? So you can't just verbalize what you think. I mean, we do that freely in Africa, right? And you
yes,
say you say precisely what you want, and
yeah,
yeah, nothing really happens, right? So those kinds of culture shocks are there and present. Those are cultural differences. The other difference I found was um, the North American culture is very individualistic. I don't know if you found it the same way.
it is. Yes,
Yeah, it's like by that I mean people are very conservative in the sense that they're very into themselves. It's not a very communal society, right? So even though people socialize, from time to time, people do socialize, but they're very individual. You could, for instance, you could live in an apartment and have neighbors all around you. You could live for a year and not know their names. Am I
I
right?
don't know
Yeah.
I don't know my neighbor. I only know one.
Yeah.
The rest, I don't know them. I don't know their names.
Yeah.
I barely know one.
Yes. Like, same as me. I,
Yeah,
I don't I don't know their names. One who says hi once in a while
yeah,
when I
mhm,
meet them. That's it. I've never been to their homes. I don't know
right.
who they are, what they're about. So, and
Yeah,
this is for many years of living in one place. I've
mhm,
7 years here, 5 years another place. It's been consistent and the same. And I also see that extended everywhere, every city I go to. And one odd
yes,
thing I found was that you find people are in homes, like really nice homes and stuff, and people have backyards and front yards, but you're never going to see people sitting in the front yard having tea.
yeah. It's odd. I mean, if you go back to South Sudan, for example, you you know it's common in this. People would sit outside having tea and just looking to the street,
Yes, it's
and
very common
just
in South
yeah,
Sudan.
like they'd be chatting and just looking to the street and just taking their tea.
Exactly, or sitting under a
Yeah,
mango tree, or right in front of their houses and chatting.
exactly. Right in front of
Yes,
the house by the
yes.
street. Yeah,
It's not uncommon for them to invite a stranger and say, "Hey, welcome, come eat."
yeah,
Not uncommon at all in South Sudan or any other place in Africa. Many different places in Africa are like that. So
hmm,
if you're coming from Africa, you're coming to a North American culture, that's going to be quite different. You were going to notice that right away. That's one of the things that are very clear when you see it. So you know, yeah, and the other thing is, so of course, is that there's also a culture of partying, in college, university. Uh,
yes,
you think that in Africa they don't drink. Yeah,
not much
right. Here,
compared to the university kids here.
yeah, the university culture here is heavy
No, not much. Yeah,
on partying, but they also work
yeah.
hard. They do work hard. So
They also work hard.
yeah, it's like I remember being invited to One of those parties they throw in the houses. What do they call them? Yeah, house party.
Frat
No more house
house
party.
parties. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
typically, by the way, if you're from Africa, you probably, maybe you guys don't do this, but over here, when you're invited for a house party, they expect you, the guest, to bring something along with you. Right? That's a standard culture. You know, it's
Yeah.
a
You're bringing it bring it for yourself. Bring your own drink.
yes. You bring your own drink. You bring your own snacks if you have to, and you bring it
Mhm.
there and you drink there. And
Yeah.
a lot of the times people in university want to go to drink until they're completely down and out.
Yep. Down and yeah, and then you have to take them. You find them in the bathroom.
Yes.
You know,
Yeah,
throwing up and all that stuff.
I've carried a lot of people like that, taking them
See
to
a
the
lot of students that, especially the first year students,
yes, especially first
who
years.
are just
They
yeah, who are outside of their houses or outside of their parents' homes for the first time.
yes, I think in our year,
Yeah,
you had to be 19 to drink, and to get into university, I think the students were 19 years old. Today it has changed to 18. For more because
yeah,
they don't do that one. There's 1 year they had to do, one extra year
yeah,
that they had to do
yeah,
in my year before they got
yeah.
into university, and I noticed that many of the students were 19 years old.
Hmm.
Yeah, in
Okay.
my year, maybe in yours too, right?
Most of the students, yeah. I mean,
Yeah,
by the time I resumed by the time I resumed
they were more
university, that was
mature.
much later.
They were more mature. Yeah.
Mhm.
Same as in my year, they were more mature. But today it's like they're not as mature. And then there's this typically in university culture, when you come in, it's like they have this frosh week. They call it a frosh week for first years.
That first week of university,
Yes,
of the semester of the first year, for the first
yes,
year students.
yes. After frosh week is all about enjoying yourself pretty much. Meeting
Yeah, the whole
many
week.
new people and enjoying yourself. Lots of events.
Lots of events. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I missed that one week. I arrived late, so I missed the one for my year. I don't know if you
I
found one.
I did sort of I
You
think did I
found it? You had it?
I think
I
I
okay.
missed it, yeah.
Because I arrived here in October, not
Yes, I
September.
missed, yes, I oh you arrived in October. I arrived in September 16th to be exact.
Uh, you
So
arrived earlier
but
than I did.
yeah, I arrived earlier, but I had missed Frosh Week, I think. I did miss it
Yeah.
by a little bit, but I knew the culture.
Mhm.
In the next year, I saw how the culture is.
The next year, you saw it. Yeah.
Yes. And then there was a big culture of football. Football is massive. When we talk about football, you in Africa or Europe, yeah, you know, football in North America is it's not soccer.
It's not soccer.
Yeah. So and in university, football is big.
It
In
is.
fact, in every university I know in Canada, football and hockey, those two things are huge. Yeah. So
Yeah. Yes. Especially. Yeah.
especially in October when we used to have what we call the homecoming.
Yep. Homecoming's a party. Yeah. Big
Yes,
party.
it's a party. Homecoming is like all the alumni come back,
Yeah.
and there's this one big giant party, and people have a
Hmm.
football game, and
Yes. There's a football game. Yeah.
it's exciting, really exciting. So
Hmm.
I would say, you know, and I don't think that in Africa we party like that. Do you?
Um, well, I guess depends, yeah, because if you're in Nairobi, the students there, they do party, not at school, but they party when they come home from school.
They yes, they do.
Generally, if,
Yeah,
if they're
they
in high
do.
school, If they're in high school, they party when they're at home during the holidays.
Yeah.
It depends again on your background. If you come from a well-off background, the middle class background, then you had the
Yes.
opportunity to party. And
Yes.
usually when you go to a party, the equivalent of football there is rugby.
Oh, yes, in Nairobi.
Yeah,
Rugby
yeah. So there
was,
would be so there would be
yes, yes, it is. It is. It is quite
yeah.
comparable. Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, yeah, those are some of the differences I see. The other one I was how expensive things are. You know, I first noticed that was uh, in during my first weeks, I used to say order maybe a few things like I would go buy coffee or tea, some biscuits here and there. They would cost like maybe $1 something, $2. But in my mind, I
Yeah.
was always making a calculation, a conversion.
Calculation, yeah,
I
conversion.
would be converting from Kenyan shillings to the money here, and I would be like shocked.
Money.
Oh my goodness! Oh my goodness! This is a lot.
A lot. Yeah, it is a lot.
At that time,
Yeah.
at that time, one Canadian dollar was equal to about 80 Kenya
Kenyan
shillings at
shillings.
that time.
Yeah.
And I would compare and I would say, well, I just spent $3 here. That's equivalent to about 200 and something, or 300
Kenyan
or
shillings.
whatever. And
Yeah.
I would feel guilty. I would say, well, I could have sent this money home. Maybe it would have.
That's how you start. So that's the other thing. When you're here, you are expected, at least for us, you are expected to send something,
There's expectations, yes.
even though you are a student and maybe on a student loan.
Yes, yes. Somebody here,
Did you have to take student loans, Innocent?
not for the no, not for the first 3 years. No, I did not.
No.
I didn't have to take. I didn't have to take student loans. I had to work though in the summer
Yeah.
because I had to pay. I had to pay for my own accommodation in the summer.
Yeah.
It was covered my stay only during the school year, and
Yeah.
well, I had to get a little bit of extra money because I wasn't getting much per month, like stipends.
Yes.
So I needed a little bit more money, so I worked during the summer, and I also did sometimes I would work during the school year. I would work in the labs. I
Yeah.
would, as what do they call it? It was a work study program. So I did a lot of work in the labs. I also did work in our IT. We had an IT center. So I
Okay.
worked
So you're
in
in the
that
computer
during
lab?
some. Yes, that was actually my beginning of my introduction to IT. So I started as a student worker, working in, yes, working
So
there.
do you find the IT field to be a good field to get into, information technology, like the jobs are there? When you finished school, there was not a problem getting a job, was it?
Yeah, yeah. I think the IT field is a good field to get into when you are. So when you're coming fresh from Africa, this is the reality. When you come to North America, it doesn't matter, Canada or US, it doesn't really, or maybe even the UK. Your credentials, your African credentials are not respected. This is not because they hate you or they hate Africans. It's just they do not consider it in employment. So if you're going to look for a job, assuming, let's say you have an engineering degree from, say, University of Nairobi, and you come here expecting to be employed in engineering, Forget about that. Be,
I see.
yes, you have to go through a process. You know, you need to be able to convert that degree over here. So some people go through training sometimes. So if you have like a degree from there, come here, maybe do masters or do 1 year of a separate program, and then then you might be considered for employment. Yeah, you don't just to tell the truth, I found many taxi drivers here that they're driving cabs and they have degrees in, say, dentistry, or they were even doctors, or they were engineers back home, but they're driving taxis. That's you tell me, maybe your experience is different.
Oh no, I've seen the same. Yes, I've seen the same.
Yes, it's not easy. Do not expect that if you land here that you will get a job in your field. That's not going to happen. You might get a job in a factory. You might get a job. The Canadian experience is highly valued over here. So you have to work in a separate line, work to gain that experience first, that Canadian experience on your resume before you could actually get a job. It's not, there are people that have made it. Some Nigerians I know that have come here with, say, a degree from back home and have made it in. But even the few Nigerians I know, I've had to do something else that's not within their line.
Yes.
I know a friend I worked with in IT, and he got a degree from Nigeria and then came to University of Windsor and had to do a master's program. Then after that, he was hireable. After that, it was hot market. You know, he could get a job anywhere. You know, so
is that the IT market, as you say? Is the IT market, is it a hot market?
IT is very yes.
You guys don't experience, you guys don't find any challenges finding your jobs, do you?
No, there's not a lot of there are a lot of jobs in IT, especially.
As long as for somebody qualified, you know, they've studied maybe here, like you studied here, right?
Yes,
you're qualified
there's
already.
Honestly, lots of jobs in IT. So if you've studied here, or you have your certification. Before I came to Canada, I had actually taken a certification course in CompTIA. So I did A+. That's like, for those who are in the IT field, you probably know that's the beginning level, one of the beginning levels, probably probably maybe the second certification you take, maybe after N+. There's another one called N+, which is networking. So I took that A+. In those days, A+ was big, and and that is how I managed to actually get a job on campus, working in the IT center on campus, and
I see,
working directly with students. And at that time, it was nice. I was making $12 an hour at that time, and that was big money, because the minimum wage at that time was only $8.
Yes.
$8 an hour. And I got a job working during the summer. That was very nice. During the winter, I had another job. I was working on campus with I was working in we had a hotel on campus. The hotel, well, not a hotel, sorry, a restaurant. We had several restaurants on campus. That restaurant in particular, the public would come in and attend and go and do weddings. People used to do weddings, events of all kinds in that on that restaurant. So, but I was bussing tables, and I was you know, serving wine and all kinds of things, food, clearing the tables. So if you're from Africa, you come, I mean, a job is a job, man. You need to take care of bills, you need to take care of things, go right in, do it, you know, so you can make something for yourself. And that's precisely what I was doing. The challenge was juggling school and work, right? It's always that you have to make it fit in with my schedule. That was a heavy.
Sure.
I had a heavier schedule too. So academic schedule was like what? I had 33 to 35 hours a week of class and labs. So I had to do all that. So if you are considering coming in, make sure you have enough money saved, or and consider that you might end up working and going to school at the same time. This is the life in North America, and you know, yeah. So, yeah.
Right. So that's great. So you like where you're living right now, Innocent? Do you feel like this is it, like, or is it?
Well,
I mean, I know some of us.
this.
I know some of us that have come and then they've, gone back home. I think they compare the two and they find that it's better off. You're better off back home. I think you did that as well. You told me that you went there a little bit and stayed there before coming back.
Yeah, there was
you still have this. You're of the opinion that. What opinion do you have right now, having compared the two?
Well, the thing is, there was a time when I was, you know, it was a bit depressive at one point. You know, it's like you go through life, and you reach a point where you're like nothing seems to be moving on. You're not exactly happy. So I wrote my exams like this April, and got that African ticket within within a short time. Got a one-way ticket and left for South Sudan. Landed in Juba.
Yes.